Hello and welcome to TVP World News. It's 12 o'clock here local time in Warsaw. I'm Diana Skaya. European leaders have convened in Brussels to thrash out a common approach to defense and security. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk told reporters upon arrival that the continent needed to treat all threats, whether through trade or military means, seriously. We now go live to our EU correspondent, Angela Skujins, who is in Brussels for commentary on that. Angela, hello. What can you tell us? What did Poland's Prime Minister mean when he made these comments?
So we think that Poland's Prime Minister was referring to Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. We've heard repeatedly from EU leaders that Ukraine is a doorstep to the rest of the continent, and that's why support for Kyiv is necessary. We also think that Tusk was referring to US President Donald Trump's threats this morning of imposing new tariffs on the EU. The Polish Prime Minister referred to these tariffs as stupid and unnecessary. Transatlantic relations is on the agenda today for this informal leaders summit here in the Belgian capital. Defence in other areas will also be looked at. We're talking about ramping up defence capabilities, the manufacturing sector, but also financing options. So the EU leaders, all 27 of them, will be here to give their opinions on those matters. The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will also make an appearance, as well as NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte. But this is all discussions here today. We'll hear some of those formal outcomes of those meetings later in the day when Donald Tusk will give a press conference with some of those other EU officials. But that's all from Brussels, and I'll throw it back to you in the studio.
Thanks so much, Angela. We will be coming back to you throughout the day. That's Angela Skujins in Brussels. Donald Trump's recent remarks and actions were one of the main topics of discussion as EU leaders arrived for an informal meeting today. Let's hear what European officials had to say about the threat of a trade war and the annexation of Greenland.
We are preparing also on our side, but what is clear, there are no winners in trade wars. If United States and the US start the trade war, then the one laughing on the side is China. We are very interlinked. We need America, and America needs us as well.
Everybody has to respect the sovereignty of all national states in the world, and that Greenland is today a part of the Kingdom of Denmark. It's a part of our territory, and it's not for sale. The chairman, the leader of Greenland, has been very clear that they are not for sale. I totally agree with the Americans that the high north, that the Arctic region is becoming more and more important when we're talking about defense and security and deterrence. And it is possible to find a way to ensure stronger footprints in Greenland. They are already there. And they can have more possibilities. And at the same time, we are willing to scale up from the Kingdom of Denmark. And I think NATO is the same. So if this is about securing our part of the world, we can find a way forward.
Both the US and Europe benefit from the exchange of goods and services. If tariff policy now makes this difficult, it would be bad for the US and bad for Europe. It is clear that as a strong economic area, we can shape things ourselves and can also react to tariff policies with our own. We must and will do this, but the perspective and goal should be that we proceed in a way that leads to cooperation.
Donald Trump has said that while a deal with the UK can be reached, the EU will not escape American tariffs. The US president has accused the European Union of taking advantage of the US, pointing to the bloc's over $300 billion trade deficit.
We're going to see what happens. It'll happen, but we'll see how things work out. It might happen with them, but it will definitely happen with the European Union. I can tell you that, because they've really taken advantage of us. And, we have over a $300 billion deficit. They don't take our cars, they don't take our farm products, they take almost nothing. And we take everything from them, millions of cars, tremendous amounts of food and farm products. So the UK is way out of line, and we'll see. UK, but European Union is really out of line. UK is out of line, but I'm sure that one, I think that one can be worked out. But the European Union it's an atrocity, what they've done.
Russia is building a new naval base in the breakaway Georgian region of Abkhazia, raising fears that Georgia could be drawn into the war in Ukraine. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, the purpose of the new base is to safeguard Russia's naval forces, which have suffered heavy losses in the Black Sea since the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine. Moscow occupied the Abkhazia region after a war with Tbilisi back in 2008, backing local breakaway leadership. The region is internationally recognized as Georgia's sovereign soil. Overnight, Ukraine attacked fuel and energy infrastructure in the Russian regions of Artsakhan and Volgograd. The governor of the former, Igor Babushkin, said that the strikes caused a fire at one plant.
Although he did not describe which facility was attacked, a social media channel connected to the Russian intelligence reported an attack on a gas plant near Astrakhan. Reporting to the attack, local airlines suspended all flights from the city. Similar restrictions have been imposed at the Volgograd airport, where oil and energy supplies were disrupted by drone strikes. According to Andrei Kovalenko from the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, the drone strikes are aimed at halting production of fuel used to supply the Russian army.
Following a meeting with the speakers of parliament of Estonia, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, and Ukraine, Polish parliamentary speaker Szymon Hołownia addressed security in the Baltic Sea region. And while in Tartu, the official appealed for an extended Allied surveillance mission on the Baltic Sea amid increasing Russian provocations in the region.
You all know that on 14th of January there was a summit in Helsinki when NATO countries, Baltic countries, decided to start this Baltic Sentry project for 90 days of Navy policing of the Baltic Sea. And I think that we should support our governments on every level to make this project not only for 90 days, but for good, to stay with this for good and to intensify our efforts to keep Baltic safe. It's a crucial thing for us because these hybrid threats from the shadow fleet, my colleagues already mentioned, it's absolutely crucial to keep us safe because Russians are not only transporting oil, as my colleagues said, they are transporting, all the sabotage materials. They can do espionage using this shadow fleet. We have to stop them.
Polish President Andrzej Duda has warned that the end of Russia's war against Ukraine could lead to an explosion of international organized crime. Now, in an interview for the Financial Times, he went on to say that Kyiv would need massive support to ensure its security. Now, in an interview with the Financial Times, Andrzej Duda said he was worried that once the fighting stopped, crime would spill over the border from Ukraine into Poland, and that this would also affect Western Europe and the United States. He compared the situation to Russia in the early 1990s when gangsterism and gun violence spiraled among veterans of the decade-long Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. Poland is already dealing with the problem of Georgian gangs on its territory, and experts warn their illegal activities must be controlled before the gangs become established for good. Adding also that this has to be done before the war in Ukraine ends, because that's when criminals may gain access to huge resources of weapons, as was the case after the war in former Yugoslavia. Croatia will expand its LNG terminal, ensuring the energy security of Ukraine and Central European countries. And the country will also provide war-torn Ukraine with mine clearance vehicles. This is according to Mate Granic, the Croatian government's special advisor for foreign policy.
In an interview with state media, Granic announced that energy security was at the top of the agenda for a meeting between Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković and Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal in Zagreb on Wednesday. He also said that Croatia's plans to expand the LNG terminal will create new opportunities for natural gas supplies to Ukraine and other countries in Central Europe. In addition, he reaffirmed Croatia's unwavering support for Ukraine.
The German Christian Democratic Union is set to hold its party convention on Monday in Berlin. With less than 3 weeks left until the federal election, thousands have been protesting against the collaboration between the CDU and the AfD.
The CDU convention is set to kick off at 10 local time in Berlin. The chairman of the party and the candidate for German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, is set to give a speech later in the day. He has recently come under fire when he relied on votes from the far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, to push an anti-migration motion through parliament. On Sunday, at least 160,000 people attended a rally in the German capital to protest the CDU leaning on the support of the AfD in parliament last week.
Viktor Orban has announced that Alice Weidel from the far-right Alternative for Germany will be visiting Budapest. In a social media post, the Hungarian Prime Minister said that, quote, "It is time to take down another wall in Berlin."
Looking forward to your visit, Alice Weidel. Berlin has always been a city of walls. It's time to tear another one down.
And moving on to the world of music, Beyoncé won the award for Best Country Album on Sunday for Cowboy Carter at the annual Grammy Awards in Los Angeles. The superstar singer said she was in shock to receive the award for her first venture into the genre of country music.
I think sometimes genre is a cold word to keep us in our place as artists, and I just want to encourage people to do what they're passionate about and to stay persistent. Wow. I'd like to thank my beautiful family, all of the artists that were collaborators. Thank you. This wouldn't have been this album without you.
And on that note, we end this edition of TVP World News. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more news and features on TVP World.